This is the real and horrible zombie story of a young Haitian girl called Ciliane. Ciliane had been dead for 3 years, or so they thought. In 2005, her family had mourned her passing and laid her to rest in Fort Bourgeois. Little did they know the horrors that awaited them. On that fateful night in Ban du Nord, the moon hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows over the small village. Ciliane's family had retired for the night, unaware that their daughter was about to return from the grave. The air was thick with dread, and a sense of foreboding lingered. A group of shadowy figures, the so-called werewolves, moved through the darkness with stealthy intent. The night after her burial, they approached the cemetery, where Ciliane had been buried. The grave was dug up, and her coffin was pulled from the earth. It was a grotesque and macabre scene, as the moonlight revealed the twisted faces of the grave robbers. Ciliane's body was lifeless, or so it seemed. In the pitch-black night, the werewolves unwrapped her shroud and administered a potion made from the leaves of the zombie cucumber, a plant that grew wildly in Haiti. The elixir was a sinister concoction, designed to induce a state of weakness and muscle atony in the victim. Slowly but surely, Ciliane's body began to show signs of life. Her heart, once undetectable, began to beat weakly. The poison coursing through her veins had left her paralyzed and vulnerable. She was trapped in a nightmare, unable to scream for help. The werewolves didn't stop there. They rubbed her limbs, massaging away the stiffness brought on by her time in the coffin. Ciliane's body was wrapped in a white sheet to conceal her identity, and a rope was tied around her waist to ensure she didn't escape. Her arms were bound, making it nearly impossible for her to resist. Under the guidance of the conductor, the leader of this sinister operation, Ciliane was forced to walk. Her movements were stiff and uncoordinated, like a marionette being controlled by invisible strings. The conductor held the other end of the rope, ensuring Ciliane couldn't break free. As Ciliane was led away from the cemetery, her family remained blissfully unaware of the horror unfolding just beyond their home. The conductor, determined to maintain his hold on his zombified victim, clamped a strip of cloth over her mouth to stifle any potential cries for help. Ciliane had become a pawn in a nightmarish game of control and manipulation. Her fate was sealed, and she was now a pawn in the hands of those who had brought her back from the dead. The true extent of her suffering had only just begun. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, Ciliane's existence became a living nightmare. She was rented out to farmers as a laborer, forced to toil in the fields day after day, her mind trapped in a fog of paralysis. She had become a modern-day slave, a victim of the dark forces that had resurrected her. Meanwhile, the authorities turned a blind eye to the horrors of zombification that plagued Haiti. The country's deep-rooted belief in Voodoo and the fear of ridicule prevented many from acknowledging the existence of zombies. It was a sordid truth that had remained hidden in the shadows for far too long. As the years passed, Ciliane's family mourned her loss, unaware that their beloved daughter was trapped in a hellish existence. The werewolves continued their reign of terror, exploiting the vulnerability of the living dead for their own gain. But there was one who refused to remain silent. Jean-Éric René, an agronomist who had witnessed the horrors of zombification firsthand, was determined to expose the truth. He knew that the dissemination of knowledge was the key to combating this centuries-old scourge. René's research revealed the dark secrets of zombification, the poisoning, the grave robbing, the manipulation of the paralyzed victims. He understood that the purification and regulation of Voodoo practices were essential for Haiti's economic development. In his impassioned plea, René called for an end to the complicit silence of the griot culture, the oral tradition that had perpetuated the mysteries of Voodoo. He urged his fellow countrymen to embrace the New Deal by shedding light on the dark secrets of zombification that had plagued their nation for far too long. As the sun set on another day in Haiti, the horrors of zombification continued to haunt the country's rural communities. Ciliane remained trapped in her living nightmare, a symbol of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface of Haitian society. The question remained, would the authorities finally step in to investigate these sordid murders and bring an end to the reign of the werewolves? Or would the secrets of the living dead continue to cast their shadow over the land, leaving countless victims to suffer in silence? Only time would tell.
Thank you for listening to the entire story. Let me know in the comment which part of the story you have preferred. Don't forget, we post real story every week. Subscribe now to the channel to be part of those who will access our upcoming supernatural stories.